The Stanley Cup final is over, and the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. The NBA finals are underway, wondering if anybody's interested. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the youngest MVP in All-Star history. It's Sports QuaranTV. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson and Gerry Green, as always. Jerry looks like he's coming at us from Margaritaville back there, Jerry. Hope all is well, man. Looks like you're in some comforting times down on the shore.
Yeah, the wind was up today. I was hanging 10. I was digging, man. It was cool.
Overall, Jerry, we've got a great show, man. Good to see you. We've got a lot to talk about, especially in the National Hockey League, because a lot has gone on since we've been back. The Stanley Cup has been awarded to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Heavy favorites going into that Stanley Cup final. Overall, I want to get your thoughts, your closing thoughts on it. Even as a Habs fan, I've got to say, not a complete shock to me. But overall, what'd you think? What'd you like? What'd you hate about the Stanley Cup final?
Game 2 was a pivotal game for me in regards to Montreal, and they had an opportunity. And the one goal that stands out with me, that one with 3.3 seconds left, if Montreal comes out of Tampa Bay with a split, it could be a whole different series. But you could see, even though Montreal wins game number 4, Tampa still looked to me to be the better team. And so then they go home, and it's a tight checking game. Montreal had the opportunities to take the lead, but they just didn't seem – there's just way too much depth in Tampa Bay, and they were well-deserved for it. Some great accomplishments there. You got guys there with some tenure, and winning 2 championships, as they say, in a matter of 9 months is incredible because of the situation the whole world is in. But tip your hat. They've done it the right way in Tampa, Chris. They've got some brain power in the front office. They've got a great scouting staff that brings players towards the team that could be younger and valuable along the lines, and they find hitting gems too. So, I have there's no negativity by me that the fact that they found a loophole that allowed them to have the team they had in the playoffs. Full marks.
You know what? It's funny you talk about that loophole, and I know that obviously on social media, there's a lot of people who are up in arms about it, most of them being Habs fans. And look, the funny part is if you recall, Jerry, when they went back to have that vote in regards to this rule and like the LTIR not counting and then the playoffs start, there's no cap, Tampa actually voted against it. They didn't want it, but it did pass anyway, so they used it to their advantage. And I have no problem with that. But what I love is if you go back to the episode that we shot after the trade period, when Tampa Bay acquired David Savard. Tampa Bay, in order to acquire Savard, and it's like, talk about some good money management. They had to get another team to pick up a chunk of that salary off the trade. It was a 3-way deal. Savard went one way, salary retained by Columbus, then retained by the second team to get to Tampa. And Tampa got him for 10 cents on the dollar. I mean, and if you look at that final goal that essentially won them the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
David Savard with a great play to fire that right to the front of the net with probably the biggest assist of his life. And I was extremely ecstatic to see him and Matthew Joseph and, a lot of the other Quebec-born players just, in Tampa. Quebec's got 3 or 4, players from Quebec, Yanni Gourde. I love that aspect of it. Now, as a Habs fan, my takeaways are this. I'm not going to complain about the goaltending equipment controversy. That was just crazy. Anybody else will nonsense go off about it. But if you take away the positives here, look at the young core in Montreal right now. Now, the question mark is going to be with the expansion draft coming up. Who can they protect? Who's not going to protect? Obviously, goaltending has been a question mark. People talk about how great Carey Price was during the postseason, but not enough people are giving Jake Allen credit for the closeout of the regular season because had it not been for him, they very well may not have made the playoffs.
Oh, no, he was an integral part to keep Carey Price fresh. And, if Carey had a couple of nagging injuries down the stretch that he got to relax and have Jake Allen take the load. I mean, that was a great move by Bergeron, by Bergevin rather. Yeah. And, there's it's just, I just found that with Tampa, and if you didn't know, Kucherov is a former Quebec Major Junior Hockey League player too, if you didn't know that, if you forgot about that.
Absolutely.
But it to me, as I watched the games, it certainly looked like Tampa had more desire and more heart, seemed to win those puck battles, Chris. And I think the game-winning goal came off a scrum along the boards, didn't it? And I was saying to myself, Montreal, you got to win this battle, got to win this battle. There was 4 or 5 guys in along the boards. It scroots across and doesn't then Savard pass it across for the pass. I'm not sure if that was the game or not, but just winning those battles was a key indicator for me that Tampa Bay had more heart and work ethic in along the boards where battles are won and games are won.
You know, you talked about Nikita Kucherov, and the people who may not have known. I mean, he didn't play a lot of time in the QMJHL. I think he's only got 33 games logged total. He had 6 in Quebec, and then I think he had like 26 or 27 in Aranda. But
yeah,
either way, you're right. I mean, to see a guy like that come on in, and look, don't take away from what he's talented. He's extremely gifted. But the question mark that comes into me is what's going to roll into our next topic, Jerry, and that is with the expansion draft coming in, with the salary cap, looks like the cap staying flat, can they keep the core youth of this team together and possibly run the gauntlet and go back to back to back?
Well, you certainly know. You mentioned Matthew Joseph. Matthew Joseph, as soon as the coach gained some confidence with him, you saw him more during the final. He was having some good shifts and he was being put on more. Don't you think he's going to get a bigger responsibility next season when they might lose like a Tyler Johnson, or they might lose a Gord, or they might lose somebody? They're going to have to, or they might.
They're going to lose somebody.
I heard an interesting topic today on the NHL Network that maybe the big defenseman Hedman rather. Sorry, I said Hyman. You know, he's got a bad injury, and maybe they'll have him sit for half the season and get that injury. Yeah, torn meniscus, bad injury. Maybe might do it again. But as I've said before, Tampa Bay is a good organization. It might be one of those organizations that people start to model themselves after because they got a great minor system. They got young players to come up and take those bottom 6 spots. You keep control of your top 6 and maybe your top 3 defensemen and fill the rest and develop players. I think that's what you want to do.
Absolutely well said, my friend. It's exactly how you need to do it. There's a system, and it's a proven system that works. I mean, go back last year when they won the first cup. They did that basically without Steven Stamkos in the lineup. I mean, he was hurt the entire time, so it worked out. This year it happened to be Nikita Kucherov. But yeah, Tampa's modeled it out. Their AHL farm team, Syracuse, has done it time and time again. They develop their players. Yeah, you got to tip your cap to what Tampa Bay has done. And you know, I think with the expansion draft coming up and the salary cap, it's going to be tough for them to kind of maintain because they're going to lose some bodies. But overall, like I said, if you can figure out a way, absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't stop. Yeah. You know, so it's the Blackhawks way from 2010.
Do you think that, and of course, with the expansion draft, the next thing on the menu for the NHL, you have to think general managers are a little bit more wary about the expansion draft now. But there seems to be an awful lot of talk and awful lot of movement. We heard it today in regards to Suter and Parise have been bought out in Minnesota. And there seems to be a lot of players around, Chris, that maybe somebody does somebody else a favor. Maybe some of that activity that we saw when Vegas came in the expansion draft, a lot of teams might be asking Ron Francis to do them a favor. And here's what we'll do in exchange. Do you think that might happen?
Of course I do. You know, Ron Francis is no stranger to this league. You look at how successful Vegas has been since they've come into the league, which is exactly what the NHL wanted. Don't kid yourself. But it's how you build the team you're building. I mean, essentially, Seattle's about to get the 10th best player in every hockey organization. They're going to mesh them together and see if they can make it work. So is there a little pressure on Seattle to try to repeat that blueprint from the Las Vegas Golden Knights? A little bit. You'd have to think so. Now, it'd be a no-brainer for them to have to figure out there's going to be some deals work somewhere. I mean, I'm wondering, because I mean, Vegas started with their staple, and that was Marc-Andre Fleury. It was a name. They knew who was going to be their guy, their big name ticket guy. And, you know, I wonder what Seattle's is going to be and who Seattle's is going to be, because you got to think there's a lot of names out there. You mentioned Suter and Parise. Anywhere they want to go now, they're free agents. They've been bought out. They could take a discount to go anywhere because they're being paid for the next 4 years. It doesn't matter. Same with Alexander Ovechkin. He's a UFA. Why isn't Washington signed him yet? Because, well, anyways, there's a lot going. Taylor Hall, another big name is available, right? So once you just got to wonder if these guys are going to get signed and then dealt, because I mean they're not exposed to the draft. But I did find, you know, an interesting, and we won't get into it a whole lot, but like, you know, out of all the teams, Vegas is the only team protected from having to give up a player. So like that's really interesting on their part, and you know, the league wants it that way, and that's cool. But overall, yeah, I would say you are right, Jerry. I think Seattle's got a little pressure. But overall, Ron Francis is no stranger to the game. He knows.
Yeah, I didn't know that, Chris, about Vegas, but it makes sense as an expansion team. The league would want to be lenient on them in the first 4 or 5 years if another team was added. And I'm certainly sure they thought there was going to be another team added shortly after Vegas to even up the numbers again. So that's an interesting concept. But out of Vegas, there's talk that Marc-Andre Fleury might be on the move. Would he want to start fresh again in Seattle? What intrigues me is, wouldn't it be interesting to see him go back to Pennsylvania, either in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia? I think Philadelphia could use him to tutor their young goaltender, Hart, isn't it? That might need the experience that Marc-Andre Fleury would bring. And why isn't? Would you equate Taylor Hall's exposure in Boston as positive? And why wouldn't, or do the Bruins not have the ability to sign Taylor Hall? It seemed like he liked it there. He looked good in black and gold. Is there not a possibility of him going there or staying there?
There's always a possibility, but because of this expansion draft, UFAs, like I said, the way they're protected and how it works, they don't have to sign him to protect him. So,
right.
But I'm looking at it from this perspective. And again, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I know we've been going on the NHL for a long time, Jerry, but I got to get this out. If I'm the Edmonton Oilers right now, I'm calling Vegas. What would it take to acquire Marc-Andre Fleury? They just went out.
Yeah.
They just went out and got Duncan Keith. Again, whether I like the trade or I hate the trade, not my position. I'm not in the office staff of the Edmonton Oilers. But how you don't sit down with Connor McDavid and be like, all right, Connor, this is our plan. So to me, hear me out. How do you not make a phone call to go acquire yourself an all-star goaltender? Boom. How do you not find a way to get Taylor Hall to come back to Edmonton to play with Connor McDavid? He's a free agent.
Yeah.
Figure it out. You've got the cap space. Those are the two key pieces. You've acquired Duncan Keith in your room to get that veteran leadership in there. Boom. Edmonton's close, Jerry. They're close. They just, they got swept by the Jets in the first round, but they've made the postseason. Yeah. They're there. They're close.
I'm excited about the next few weeks in the hockey world and who's going to go where and how they're going to get there. But the Winnipeg Jets beating Edmonton, it all came down to goaltending, and that's a good point by you that Marc-Andre Fleury would be an interesting addition there. They can't stand pat on the goaltending they have in Edmonton if they want to be more successful.
Let's move on. Let's go
on. NBA. Well, are you interested in it or not? In the NBA final?
I'm interested just because I love Chris Paul. Obviously, I've loved Chris Paul for a long time. I was rattled at that whole situation when the league, I think the first time in history the league stepped in to stop Chris Paul from going to the Lakers many, many moons ago. But overall, I'm rooting for him. But because I live on the East Coast and these games all start at like 10 or 11, no, I'm not interested. I don't care about Giannis trying to get a ring. I mean, yes, he's a star. I want to see Booker and CP3 win a ring. That's it. That's all.
I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see what the television ratings are, Chris, because my crack research staff told me today that Phoenix, and this might shock a lot of people, is the 5th largest city in the United States. 5th largest.
That's crazy.
And
I didn't know
Milwaukee is the 30th. So Phoenix is at 1.7 million and Milwaukee's at 600,000. So viewing audience or degree of intrigue, I just don't know if it's there. And then you don't have the former New Yorkers or the former Los Angeles or the Californians. You don't have former Chicago people that are tuning in from around the country because that's their team. I don't know if you have that with these two teams for ratings wise anyways.
Absolutely. You don't have you don't have the Celtics. You don't have the Lakers. You don't have the Clippers.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you're not wrong. The league loves it when LeBron's in the finals. That's just how it works because it's good for publicity. Plus, at that point, he could promote Space Jam right now. So everything it's exactly how it all fall apart. But yeah, no, I do like the fact that it's two teams that you don't see a whole lot of. I like that concept of it.
Yes.
It's great to see, but I don't care. No. I'll be honest, I don't care.
So let's go to what we do care about. The Toronto Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero. My goodness, he put on a show, didn't he?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Vladi Guerrero. He's what a superstar. Youngest MVP and All-Star ever. He bombed, was 468 yards during the All-Star game, just crushed it. Feet. Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm already ahead in the golf side of things right now. I'm already anyways, but yeah, so let's but Vladi, you're talking exactly what he's done. But the All-Star game itself, I mean, Toronto represented the All-Star game so well. And I mean, the storylines that were surrounding it all, of course, Tatis, he was mic'd up, which I thought was neat. We were talking about some of the aspects of it. But yeah, no, Ohtani was a big story as well. He got his 3 winnings, credited with the win as well. I don't know. I thought it was great, but Vladi, you're right. Absolute gem. Not that it's a shock, wins the MVP.
I hate to admit, but I didn't take in much of it. I watched the first, maybe 30 minutes of the home run derby, and it seemed over and over again watching balls go to the outfield and counting them up. And maybe I'm a dimwit, but all the graphics on the top were confusing to me. I didn't find them appealing at all, too distracting. I remember there was an Orioles, the Orioles representative was there, and God bless him, he recovered from cancer. I'm sorry I can't remember his name, Chris, but I was watching the guy who was throwing him the pitches, and they were rapid fire. As soon as he hit one, another one was coming, and I thought that seemed pretty difficult. Eventually, he took a timeout, but the home run derby, I think, rotated around the fact that Ohtani and Soto went head-to-head, and Ohtani got knocked out early. I think that was the marquee matchup for me. But again, I didn't watch much of that, and I didn't watch much of the game. I caught the game highlights the next day. It wasn't intriguing to me, but I think the show that they do put on, the network, ESPN and ABC, I think they do a great job. Or was it Fox, Chris? Whatever they do, they get the fans involved and get them down on the field, which is interesting.
It was Fox you're thinking of, and it was Trey Mancini's who you were thinking of as well,
right.
In regard. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You look at the broadcast and how it all plays out, and they do a great job of it. You're right. And as far as events go, as far as All-Star games go, I mean, we were talking off camera a little bit whether we love or hate these exhibitions and these All-Star games. I've never been a fan of All-Star games per se, but out of all All-Star games, this one's probably my favorite.
Rob Manfred had a press conference. Did you see that? And they're going to get rid of the 7-inning thing. And then again, that was in place for COVID. And I understand that totally. And I'm not it's not going to break my heart. What's going to break my heart is, or what I am perturbed about, and I thought they were maybe turning a corner and getting away from the old way we do things. We can't change baseball, is taking that runner off second base. I liked it. If I've invested already 3 hours and whatever in a 9-inning game, you watch the Yankees and Red Sox play, it's over 3 hours. And then if I have to sit around to still wait for the conclusion, which I don't know when will come, 13th, 14th innings, you're wiping me out, man. I want it done in the 10th inning. Put a guy on second base. That's what I want.
See, this is where I graciously disagree with you. I think it was a ridiculous rule that was put into place to begin with. If you want to fix baseball, fix the balls and strikes. That to me is the problem. But that's a whole other conversation we could go on forever. The other thing talked about by Manfred as well, don't forget, is like the pressure that's being taken place in Oakland right now. I mean, look at like the conversation surrounding the Oakland Athletics and whether or not they're going to stay in Oakland. He's basically said at this point, Oakland has to decide whether they want to be in the major in the league anymore. And if not, it sounds like Vegas is going to be the likely destination. So why wouldn't the Raiders move to LA? Why wouldn't the Athletics move to LA? Vegas is about to take over the sports world. It would be sad to see, in my opinion, because obviously Oakland is always going to have a soft spot in my heart. I mean,
Moneyball, get out of here. Of course. I love them just based on the movie Moneyball.
I mean, Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt were great in their roles. But you're not wrong, though. I mean, go back like a while now, Jerry, and think about it. Like, look at your Mark McGuires, right? Look at just those are the guys to me. Like, anyways, yeah,
of course,
it would suck to see Oakland leave, but
the second half is about to start in Major League Baseball. I am going to be very interested to see the momentum that the Blue Jay All-Stars take back to their ballpark and a possibility of maybe playing in Toronto and what they can do in the second half. Does it still surprise you, Chris, that your Red Sox are in first place in the American League East?
It doesn't surprise me, but they've gotten a lot of help.
Yes.
When the season started, my goal, and I've said this on air before too, I was hoping to see the Red Sox finish at 500 ball this season. That's what I was hoping for based off the roster I saw put in place when the season started. Had they played 500 ball, I would have been over the moon. The fact that they are leading, but it also helped that Tampa finally went on a slump for a bit as well. So that kind of helped spread that gap, right? But yeah, no, I mean, it shocks me a little bit, but at the same time, they're playing good baseball right now. And if you look at how this team is playing right up and down the lineup, the bullpens look good. The mounds look good. The rotations look good. Their offenses look good. They're having fun.
Whoa. Did you say the bullpen look good?
I didn't mean the bullpen. I meant the rotation. My bad. The bullpen,
okay, no problem. I just gotta I got to keep you on cue here.
You have to. I was on a rant for a minute. Yeah, I almost let me go. But yeah, no, the rotations look good too. And I mean, again, it's all going to come down to how they do. It wouldn't shock me. Toronto's got a long road ahead of them. I mean, yes, they're a good offensive team, but they're in a bit of a hole right now, and they're going to need to win some series. Those 2-3 game series are going to have to be a couple sweeps, and they're going to have to win 66% of the series. Yeah,
the White Sox are the other power in the American League, and they were expected to be a good team this year, and they haven't disappointed. But what is interesting is the trio out in the National League West, which includes the Giants, who at present, the Giants have the best record in Major League Baseball. That's shocking.
It is shocking. It's not what I saw happening at all when the season started again. But hey, like I said, it just goes to show when teams are playing well, teams are playing well. And, it's MLB's been fun this year. I wasn't sure how it was going to look. I was excited for Jays fans. I was excited to see this young lineup after what they did late last year to kind of, close out the season to give the fans some hope. So I was kind of rooting for them on that side. It's tough for me to root for the Jays because they're in the same division as the Red Sox. But overall, it's like you can't. It's just tough. It's tough. But yeah, if they're not playing the Sox, I would love to see the Jays go on a tear. I think it would be great for baseball. It'd be great for the country, man. I think we could use it.
Well, it's going to be curious to see how long Boone keeps his job in New York, because the Yankees have been a terrible disappointment this season, and I know that I had a feeling that the Braves are going to be good this year, and that's been the whole National League East is up for grabs. I'm not saying the Braves are out of it or not. The Mets are currently leading the National League East, but what about your hated Yankees, or as a Red Sox fan, you hate the Yankees? Do you think they can recover it all?
I think they'll make. I don't know if they can recover it all. I think they'll try to make things as interesting as they possibly can. But don't forget, I mean, you're looking at what the trade period's going to come and how it's going to roll out. If I'm the Yankees right now, I don't think Boone keeps his job. I don't think he should. I really don't. At this point, the Yankees were poised to win the division this year. When the season started, they were poised.
And what we'll look forward to in the second half as well, Chris, is seeing the Vladi Ohtani battle for the MVP, and whether Ohtani can continue to do what he does, and if Vladi can continue to do what he can do. I still think the guy who could possibly win the Triple Crown beats a pitcher who can hit home runs. I still think that, and maybe I'm biased because he plays for the Blue Jays.
I absolutely agree with you, Jerry. Let's move on. We don't have a whole lot of time left because we do have to quickly get in. The 2021 Open Championship from Royal St. George's Golf Club in England is happening starting tonight, Thursday, as we air this show.
Or is it tomorrow morning?
Right. And that's the other thing, too, is that it is super late here on the East Coast, so I won't get up at 3 a.m. to start watching it. But at the same time, I love the tournament. But I was looking at some of the odds coming in. And, I mean, starting, of course, John Rahm's your favorite to win it, plus 800, 8-1 odds. Is there somebody specific you like, someone you don't like? I mean, are you like me right now? Are you tired of hearing about this DeChambeau-Koepka feud? Like, has it not gotten old at this point?
Yeah, and again, they lead the whole coverage about that, and they had them in press conferences and asked them when they were with the Ryder Cup if they could be partners and all that. And to me, I like Bryson DeChambeau. Yes, he's annoying. He's intriguing. He's certainly a drawing card to the tour. And I think Koepka is acting like a bully. And it seems to me like DeChambeau is the nerd, and Koepka's the jock who's being a bully to him. That's the way it appears to me. And in regards to the Open, you cannot pick a winner, because this is the one event where weather is such a factor to who's going to win the game and how or a tournament rather, and who adjusts properly to the conditions that Royal St. George will throw at them.
I'm sorry, but I would dump my bank account to have you tell Bryson DeChambeau he's a bully and call him the most jack nerd of all time to his face. I would literally empty my bank account.
I'm here in New Brunswick. He's not going to hear me. What are you, crazy?
I would empty. No, I'm going to put this. This is going on YouTube. We're going to send it to him right in the middle of this tournament. But no, I absolutely agree with you, Jerry. I think it's absolutely foolish that happens to be the storyline at every major going on right now. Again, you can't pick a winner. I can tell you who I'm rooting for. I'd love to see DJ come away with another win. I like Dustin Johnson a lot. I'm a big Rory fan too. I called Rory to win the last one. Unfortunately, couldn't get there. I figured he's due to come back. But yeah, you're right. You can't pick a winner. But if I had to take a guess, I would love to see Dustin Johnson get it. So, Jerry,
I'm just looking forward to it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, that being said, it is time, buddy. It is time for the best part of the show. The viewers love it. We love it. In fact, we talk about these things right before the airtime starts. It's great. So, Jerry, it is time for the wrap. And we're going to start right out of the gate. It is the time of year for drafts. The MHL, which you cover the Timberwolves quite a bit, just had their draft. What were your thoughts on the first 3 picks?
Well, the Timberwolves had the first pick too, Chris, in the MHL draft that was held last weekend. And the Timberwolves took Ryan Hayes from the Cape Breton West Islanders. He's a defenseman, just 16 years old. But, as always, sometimes those impressive players are taken by Q teams, and Bathurst had taken him in the 8th round. So they're hopeful as the number 1 pick they can get him to come to Miramichi. But then there's 2 Moncton players get take 2 and 3. Campbellton takes Philip Corlett from the Moncton Flyers, as did Bathurst, took him in the 5th round. And we know this guy, Joaquim Matulo. He plays for the Moncton Flyers, and he was taken by Grand Falls 3rd overall. I tip my hat to all the players that were taken in this past draft. Chris, the Italian team has won the Euro Cup, and the Englanders lost, and it's been terrible.
Man, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding it. Unfortunately, social media is the greatest and worst thing in the world for that. But kudos to Italy for a hard-fought game. Game goes down to penalty kicks. I couldn't imagine the pressure that was on England's young lad, the 19-year-old closeout 5th shooter. Look, you feel. You don't want to see these things. Of course, you're receiving threats. It's just awful. But yes, England will be back. The World Cup is not far away. Don't stress out about it now. But either way, you're right. Kudos to Italy. Great win. Jerry, former Major League ball player Jason Dixon's found himself a new job. What are you hearing?
Mayor Mashir Jason Dixon, who lives over in Fredericton and works there, is now the new Chief Executive Officer for Baseball Canada. He was the volunteer president for the last 6 years, Chris. And if you remember, 4 years with the California Angels, he had a 26 and 25 record. He represented the Angels in 1997 at the All-Star game. And I remember the first time we saw him play, everybody in Miramichi was hovered around the TV. He was in Yankee Stadium for an afternoon game. The first player he pitched to, Derek Jeter, and Jeter hit it over the wall. So we tip our hat to Jason Dixon to his continued support of Baseball Canada. The UFC had an eventful night, Chris. What about Conor McGregor's future?
Good question. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it eventful or uneventful. I mean, packed house in Vegas, McGregor, Poirier 3, freak acts at the end of the first round. McGregor breaks his tibia. Successful surgery, so we're being told. I don't think he's done yet. We'll find out. But if there is a fight, it'll be Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, number 4. Jerry, that's going to do it this week for us. We hope you've had just as much fun watching as we've had recording. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next Thursday.